You're sitting in a waiting room. Nothing is wrong. You're not hungry, not in pain, not tired, but something is happening anyway. A hollow, slow restlessness, a feeling that time itself has become the problem. You pull out your phone, not because you want anything specific, just to make it stop. That feeling has a name, and you are the only animal on Earth that feels it. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran a simple experiment. He put participants in an empty room. No phone, no book, no window, just a chair and their own thoughts for 15 minutes. He gave them one option, a button that would deliver a mild electric shock. 2/3 of men pressed it, a quarter of women did too. They chose physical pain over being alone with nothing to do. Wilson called the task just thinking. Turns out, humans are catastrophically bad at it. Not because we lack imagination, because we have too much of it. We are the first species in history to be afraid of our own minds when they go quiet. But boredom isn't just discomfort. It's a very specific kind of discomfort. And understanding what it actually is changes how you see the entire human story. Dr. John Eastwood at York University defines boredom like this: the inability to engage your attention with internal or external stimuli, combined with the awareness that you want to be engaged but aren't. Two things: a gap between where your mind is and where it wants to be, and the ability to notice that gap exists. That second part is everything. Noticing requires metacognition, the awareness of your own mental state, the ability to stand outside your experience and evaluate it, to look at your own life from a distance and say, this isn't what I want. Most species on Earth don't have this. No gap, no evaluation, no narrator running commentary on whether this moment is worthwhile. They just live. A dog with nothing to do just sleeps. There is no internal voice saying, this moment is meaningless and I should be somewhere else. That voice is yours, only yours. Animals in captivity develop what researchers call stereotypies, repetitive, purposeless behaviors. A tiger pacing the same 10 feet, a polar bear swaying, an elephant rocking its head for hours. These look like boredom. They're not. They're stress responses, neural loops with no exit. Human boredom is categorically different. It requires a self that can evaluate its own experience, one that can say, this isn't enough, one that can imagine something better. And here's the part nobody connects. That exact capacity, the ability to judge your own experience as insufficient, is the same capacity that built civilization, the same faculty, the same engine, running in the opposite direction. In 2012, psychologist Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire found something counterintuitive. She gave participants a deliberately boring task, copying numbers from a phone book for 20 minutes, then measured their creative output immediately after. The bored group outperformed the control group consistently. Boredom hadn't dulled them. It had activated something. Mann argued that when the outside world fails to provide stimulation, the brain turns inward. It starts generating what isn't there. It reaches for meaning. It imagines solutions to problems that don't exist yet. Your ancestors sat around fires for thousands of years with nothing to do after dark. No light, no screens, no distraction, just the silence and each other and the hours that had to be filled somehow. And out of that enforced stillness came mythology, language, art, religion, the first stories humans ever told. Boredom didn't just accompany human creativity. It may have been the engine of it. Think about what that means. Every painting on a cave wall, every piece of music, every scientific question anyone ever asked, all of it started with a moment when someone had nothing to do, and instead of escaping, they stayed. But here's the other side, and it's harder to look at. Neuroscientists studying the default mode network, the brain system that activates when you're not focused on any external task, have found something uncomfortable. Modern humans almost never let it run. The average person checks their phone 96 times a day, once every 9 minutes. The moment boredom begins, we kill it, before it can become anything. For most of human history, that wasn't possible. The discomfort had nowhere to go. It had to be processed, sat with, turned into something. Now it just disappears. A study out of Harvard found that people spend 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're actually doing, mind wandering. The same study found it makes people unhappy, but they kept doing it anyway. That's the loop. Uncomfortable in the present. Escape. The escape makes it worse. Escape again. And here's what makes this specifically human. Other animals can't do this. A cat doesn't sit in one place while mentally inhabiting somewhere it would rather be. It just exists where it is. We are the only species that can be somewhere and simultaneously resent being there, the only one that experiences the present as not enough. Which raises a question worth sitting with. If boredom is uniquely human, and if the discomfort of understimulation is what drove us to build language and art and civilization, what happens when we eliminate it entirely? What happens to a species that evolved to transform emptiness into meaning when emptiness is no longer available? We're running that experiment right now. The results aren't in yet. But something is already visible in the data. Rates of anxiety, depression, the specific modern dissatisfaction that everyone recognizes but nobody can quite name, all rising. In the most stimulated, most connected, most entertained generation in the history of our species. We have more ways to not be bored than any humans have ever had, and it isn't helping. Maybe that's coincidence, or maybe boredom was never the enemy. Maybe it was a signal, your brain telling you your full capacity hasn't been used, that you're operating below what you were built for, that somewhere between the waiting room and the scroll, something important is being skipped. The discomfort was the point. It was always supposed to push you somewhere, but only if you let it. For most of human history, you didn't have a choice. The discomfort found you whether you wanted it or not. Now, it's optional, and you choose every time. The tiger paces because it can't leave. You pick up your phone because you choose to. That is the difference. That has always been the difference. You are the only animal that gets bored. You're also the only one that gets to decide what to do with it.